Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Have you ever been happy and sad at the same time? I have. Have you ever been hot and cold at the same time? I have too. You ever feeling that you were enlightened but confused at the same time? I think we all go through those things. And that's what the topic of today is going to be. Conflicting feelings and how to reconcile those. And I want to welcome everybody again for another week. This is You as a Whole, Body, Mind, and Soul. I'm Justin Merigliani on USA Global TV and Radio. And this is something that I think, I don't even think, I do this every week. I a lot of times we'll say I think, and then I change it to I know, and that's one thing I'm trying to work on actually is to be better at being more assertive in that. Everybody goes through this. I don't think, I know. Everybody goes through the conflicting feelings, and I'm going through them now with changing in the things that are changing in my life. Within the last couple of weeks, my house has been sold. And it was the house that I lived in for 20 years. And we brought both of our kids home into the house. And it was unbelievably difficult to close the door for the last time and know that you're not going back in. And, just taking that one more peek and then finally closing the door and slowly backing out of the driveway. And you want to hold on to it as long as you can. You want to try to not let it slip. But it slips. And that's sad. That's something that's been difficult. It's something that I not only struggle with while I'm awake, but also when I'm asleep. I dream about the house. I have a lot of dreams about us trying to clean it out, and we only have a couple hours to go, and the house is totally full, and we got to move all this stuff out, and we're running out of time. And it's just it's not a fun feeling. At the same time, because the house is sold, I have no debt. I have a substantial amount of money now on my account. I can look forward to buying another house where I want, what I would like to have. So there's excitement there too. There's the excitement of what is it going to be like when I have a house in a place where I want it to be. And what's it going to be like having my kids come over and spend time at my house? And what's it going to be like to decorate it for the holidays, which I love to do. And we did that when we were all together, but decorate it the way I want and how much I want, and all the things that go with having your own place and the excitement of a new start, of things that are to come. And I didn't allow myself to do that very much for most of my life. For most of my life, I thought if I look forward to whatever was coming, then somehow I wasn't being loyal to what already had happened. It almost felt like, in a lot of ways, like I was in a relationship and I was cheating, because I was somehow, by moving forward, not allowing myself to, well, by moving forward, not being, I don't know what the word is. I guess not being connected to the past. Maybe I'll say it that way, or loyal to the past. And all that did was kept me trapped in the past. It didn't allow me to actually look forward to the things that were coming. So I do have conflicting feelings. One, again, is that I miss the house that I had for 20 years. And I wish that it could have been different. And that when we bought the house 20 years ago, the idea was that the only way I was going to leave that house was when I died. We figured that that was our forever house, and we were never going to leave until we passed on, and that's not how it worked out. So there is the feeling of what if that would happen? How would that have felt? Would that we wouldn't be going through the sadness that we are right now? And at the same time, turning around, looking at the cool stuff that I mentioned before. And I get to decide where I want to live. I get to decide what type of house I want, how many bedrooms, whatever it might be. I get to decide, when I'll have people over, when I won't. These are all exciting things. I get to decorate it the way I want. A lot of sports themed stuff, I'm sure, will be going up on the walls. I get to decide what the trajectory of my new life is going to be. And it's okay for me to feel excited about that. It's okay for me to say, that's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it. It's something that's maybe not won't be easy. There are going to be things about it that are difficult. Certainly when you're in a partnership with someone, you're working together, that makes it a little bit easier. And then when you're on your own, it's a little bit harder, of course. But at the same time, there are some perks to go with that. And I see that in other aspects of life too. I people hate to admit this, but when you have a sick relative, somebody that you have to take care of, day in and day out, let's say they have cancer, and it's been a year, and you're constantly, you have to bathe them, you have to feed them, you have to carry them, you have to do everything for them, give them their pain medication, help them go to the bathroom. I mean, just simple stuff that they would be able to do normally that they can't now. And it's been going on for a year. And then you get to the end of that year, and that person starts to transition. They're dying, and you feel relief. You have conflicting feelings. On the one hand, you might feel guilty for having the feeling of relief. And I've heard this from more than one person. This is not unique to any one particular person. This is pretty much universal. When you are in a position watching somebody suffer and having to be there for it day in, day out, and have to be completely covered in sadness and in pain and in suffering, it's only human to have the feeling of, I can't wait till this is over. I don't want them to go because it's going to be really difficult. It's going to be so hard, and I'm going to be devastated. And at the same time, I want them to go because they're suffering. This is very difficult. I'm out of ammunition. I can't do anymore. Conflicting feelings. I mean, how do you reconcile those things? I don't know if I have. I say this in a lot of shows that I don't know if I have all the answers, and in fact, pretty sure I don't. So this show is mostly about questions, not answers. Even with divorce, there's a sadness, there's a mourning that goes on, especially when it first starts, when the separation starts. And a year ago at this time, it was just horrendous. I mean, I was just a few days away from having to go to the psychiatric ward in a hospital from just severe depression and severe anxiety stemming from all the changes that were coming in life, especially the marriage. And you mourn that like a death. It really is. It's the death of a relationship. And it's the changing of a family that was once the four of you in our case and no longer is. But then there's also the excitement of the potential to start over. If that relationship isn't working out the way it's supposed to, whether it's mine or yours or anybody else's, what do you think about the future? What kind of thoughts do you have about what it's going to be like when you meet somebody who you connect with, who you decide that they're a person you want to spend at least part of your life with, potentially the rest of your life with? Who knows? Right? People ask me now, would you ever get married again? I don't know. I mean, part of me says no, I wouldn't. But I don't know how I'm going to feel 5 years from now, 10 years from now, a year from now. I have no idea. I think that's part of the dealing with these conflicting thoughts or conflicting feelings is you kind of got to let it play out. Maybe it's, we all spend so much of our time and so much of our lives trying to plan everything and trying to make things happen. I'm probably more guilty of it than anybody else, or at least as guilty as anybody else. I don't like ambiguity. I don't like not knowing for sure. I want to know. I want the answers. I want to know for sure. And I really want confirmation, reassurance. One of the things I hate is when I go to a doctor, you're nervous, you're in the waiting room. And 11 years ago today, I was actually in this situation where I was trying to find out whether I was going to need a different kind of surgery for my to have my colon removed. And there were pluses and minuses to the different situations. But 11 years ago right now, I was coming home from the hospital with the surgeon, and I copied it. I took a screenshot of what I wrote back then because it came up as a memory today on Facebook. And I said something to the effect of, I'm at the surgeon waiting to talk to him about surgery. I could hear myself sweat. And it brought me right back to that moment, sitting in that room and waiting to talk to a surgeon and not knowing what the answers were going to be. There was conflicting feelings. I didn't want to go back and hear things I didn't want to hear. But I didn't want to sit and wait because the anticipation was horrendous. Because all you can do is think. What you play the what if game. What if this? What if that? So part of me was like, oh, maybe he won't show up today. Wouldn't that be great? Maybe he'll get sick, or maybe he'll have a pipe break at his house or something, and I will do it another day and put it off. And at the same time, the other feeling was, yeah, but then you got to come back and you got to do this all over again. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Conflicting feelings. I'm glad that he was there and we were able to get to the bottom of what we did and then had a plan for surgery. But I hate it when I go to a doctor for an issue and they say, I don't think it's this. It's probably not that. I struggle with probably. And again, I know that other people do too. Some people are better than others at it, but I'm not great at it. When there is a possibility, my mind goes to that possibility, even if it's not probable, which is a mistake on my part. But it's ingrained. It's something that I've been like since I was a kid. Leading up to surgery, there were conflicting feelings. One was I didn't want to have surgery. I didn't want to have my colon removed. I did not want to be an ostomy. Didn't want it. Who would? I don't think anybody hears you're going to have a bag for the rest of your life and thinks, oh man, that is fantastic. I can't wait for that. Be really odd. Wasn't me. So there was dread. And in the week or so leading up to it, there was, again, a mourning and a dread and a sadness that my whole body was going to change, and so was my life. I mean, it sounds weird, but I remember the last time I ever used the bathroom like I did for 40 some years, 41 years, 40 years, whatever it was. And it felt weird knowing that that was the last time that was going to happen. So that was a feeling that I had, the sadness, the fear, the mourning, confusion, self-doubt. But then there was also an exciting part of it. And the exciting part was, and this is the night before, 24 hours from now, it's all going to be done. It's going to be behind me. And I'm not going to have to worry about it going forward. It'll be done. It'll be over. In fact, when I came out of surgery and my family was there, my mother said, "You're done. You're done." And that surgery really was the end of me having ulcerative colitis, and also ended the possibility of me getting colon cancer. There was an excitement about that. The excitement was not only is the surgery over, but also the fear is over. I don't have to worry about what if this becomes full-blown cancer. At the time, it was precancerous, and that's why I had to have the surgery. So that was exciting too, to know that when you go home, when this is all done, you're not going to have to think what's going to happen in 6 months, what's going to happen in a year, what's going to happen in 2 years. When is that bomb going to go off? That's not something I need to worry about anymore. I'll never have to worry about colon cancer. That's a positive. And again, I still have conflicting feelings. Do I wish that I never got colitis in the first place? Do I wish that I had a colon that was healthy? Absolutely. Absolutely. But would I trade with somebody who's got stage 4 colon cancer and may lose their life? No, I would not. I'd much rather be in the position I'm in right now than in that position. And I think they probably would say the same thing. Conflicting feelings. Neither one of them are right or wrong. They're just having different feelings about the same thing. Anger and sorrow, or forgiveness. How many times in your life, and I know it's been in mine, that somebody's done something to me that made me extremely angry. And part of me wanted revenge. Part of me wanted them to suffer because I suffered. Well, some people won't even admit it. They'll say, I'm not that way, whatever. It's very, very rare that somebody doesn't have those feelings, whether they admit it or not, whether they're going to admit it to themselves or not, even might not happen. But let's be honest. Most of us, when somebody hurts us, we want to hurt them back. There's a reason why people defend themselves when they feel like they're in danger, because they want to preserve themselves. They want to, but there's also the anger that comes in. And think about the people on 9/11 on the planes, especially Flight 93. And I think of that because I just passed their in Shanksville. They have a memorial museum to the people on Flight 93 who stopped the hijackers on 9/11 from getting to their target. And I tried to put myself in that position. What would it be like? And I would be angry, knowing that I'm going to die, and knowing that my family is going to have to go through this. Especially if it depends. At the time, I didn't have a wife and kids, but even so, at 26 on that day, I would have been not only fighting for my life, but I would have been mad. I would have been gone, and I wouldn't say, well, I just want to get the plane back. I'd want to, exact some revenge. And sometimes I still feel that way about certain things. Now, not to the extent that I would there. I mean, obviously, that's an incredibly emotionally charged, one in a billion type of situation. But if somebody costs you money, if somebody injures you, I got a car accident last year, and I was very, very angry. Still not thrilled about it. Damage to my back. Haven't been able to do much of the things that I like to do. But then there's the feeling of forgiveness, the feeling of letting it go as best you can. Or somebody who's close to you hurt you, wondering what it is that you might have done to hurt them to the point where they had to hurt you like that. And these are conflicting feelings. So after this break, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And I hope you'll join in with me. I hope somebody will chat in and be happy to, see what other folks are thinking at the same time. So we'll be right back after this.
My Tummy Hurts by Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Meet Jackie. She loves recess, running with friends, and laughing on the playground. At school, Jackie tries to play like she always does, but suddenly the pain comes back. Lately, something feels different and her tummy hurts, sometimes a little and sometimes a lot. With the help of a caring teacher, a nurse, her mom, and a kind doctor, Jackie begins to understand what her body is trying to tell her. Sometimes tummy pain is more than a simple bellyache. Some children live with conditions like ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease. Jackie listens to her body. She asks for help. She knows she's not alone. And Jackie finds her way back to running, laughing, and being herself. My Tummy Hurts, a kid's guide to bellyaches and bathroom troubles by Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, available on Amazon and in fine bookstores around the world.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Yesterday I was struggling with what I was talking about before the break, where I was in it, and I even though I share a lot of personal stuff on the show and on social media, there is a limit because I don't want to infringe on anybody else's right to privacy. So I can't always be 100% transparent. I think people will respect that. I'd rather do that than, just air out everything so that people know other people's business. But I'm pretty open because to me, whatever I say, you probably have felt it yourself. You may not like anybody else to know it, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But to me, I mean, anything I say is probably something that other people have felt. Maybe not every single thing I say is felt by you individually, but somebody out there does. So yesterday I was in a position where I felt lied to. I felt betrayed. I felt like I wasn't being told what I should have been told. I wasn't given the opportunity to make decisions on my own because they were taken away from me. And I was burning up. So angry. Just feeling, that I wanted to lash out. Now I didn't. Now, if it was a year ago before therapy, yeah, I probably would have. I probably would have been yelling and screaming and punching and kicking and doing all the things that I did back then. But, I didn't do it this time. But that doesn't mean I don't feel it. That's the funny thing. People say, well, you've changed, so I guess you don't have those feelings anymore. That's not it at all. I still have them. They're still there. It's just I have better control of them. And one thing that has helped me is reframing. So I tried to reframe as best I could yesterday. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I was perfect at it, because there were moments where I was just livid. I could feel my whole body was on fire. I was just so aggravated and just couldn't think straight. And all I want to do is lash out. All I wanted to do is not physically hurt somebody, but make them feel like I did, make them uncomfortable like I was uncomfortable. But I reframed it and I thought to myself, what good would it do? And what would I feel like 24 hours later or a week later? Whatever I do in this moment will have repercussions beyond this moment. And there was the other side of me saying, yeah, but you've been taken advantage of. You've been, I don't want to say disrespectful, because I'm starting to not care about respect. I really, if people don't respect you, move on. Why do you even care? This whole idea, I used to be into, oh, I better be respected. If anybody disrespects me, I'm gonna let them have it. They're not gonna get a chance to do that. Why? All that did was make me worry about it too much. So it wasn't a respect thing. It was more of I feel like I should have more input. But in order to do that, it would cause me to lash out. So there are conflicting feelings. Part of me said, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it. And the other part of me is like, but then you're going to pay the price down the road. And so will other people that you don't want to hurt. And I think that's the hardest part, is sitting there wondering what's the right thing to do. It's not obvious. I'll put it up on social media sometimes. And again, I make it vague. I don't really get into specifics, but I'll talk about things like, what would you do in a situation where you're having these conflicting feelings, where you want to lash out and you're angry and you want to let them know how you feel. And at the same time, you don't want to hurt them. You don't want them to feel guilty, and you don't want them to be as upset as you are. Those are conflicting feelings, and those you had decisions to make. The problem is when you make the decision very snap, when it's a sudden decision and you don't think about it. And that was me, and still sometimes me, where I let the emotion bubble over and I make a decision based on emotion. There's our buddy Kevin. I appreciate it, Kevin. Kevin's a good guy. He said that he's on speed. Yeah, he's got my number on speed dial. So yeah, I appreciate that. And it's. I've talked to friends about this kind of stuff. All kinds of different situations, family members. One is politics, right? I mean, they tell you don't go to Thanksgiving and talk about politics with your family. But there's conflicting feelings. You may feel a certain way, whichever way it is. And you may have a family member that is completely the opposite. Now, the conflict is, do you stand up for what you believe in, even if that is against what somebody else believes in? Or do you just not go there at all for the sake of the person you're with? Let's say it's a cousin, an aunt, an uncle, whatever. So your other family member, so what do you do? And it's not an easy answer. Some people will say, well, you got to be true to yourself. You got to stick up for what you believe in. And if you don't, you're part of the problem. And then there's the other school of thought. What's more important, family and friendship and personal relationships, or sticking up for your views? How do you answer that question? Both are viable options. Both make sense. I always wondered if with those things, if it's one right answer. Maybe it's not. Maybe on Thanksgiving the answer is just avoid it. Maybe on Memorial Day the answer is debate. I don't know. Maybe it's not the same answer every day. Depends on the situation, I guess. If you're at a religious holiday or a bar mitzvah or a confirmation, whatever it is, probably thinking that that's not the time to engage in those kind of debates. So at that point, what becomes more important? I guess that's the way you have to look at it. As I'm saying it, I'm thinking about it. Maybe it's a situation by situation basis. Maybe sometimes sticking up for what you believe in is really important at that moment. And maybe other times preserving peace is more important at that moment. I wrestle with those things myself. And I'm the kind of person that goes too far one way or another. I'm much better at it. And it's a work in progress, of course. I'm not saying that I'm perfect at it, but if I got angry about something, if it was what I believe to be a moral issue, then I was scorched earth. And I would, fight and fight and fight and fight and fight. Because I thought that if I didn't do that, I wasn't being true to myself. And I wasn't being authentic. Because I was holding back what I thought and what I felt. And I was being hypocritical. And that drove me crazy, the thought of being hypocritical. And now I'm looking at it like maybe it's not hypocritical. Maybe it's picking your spots. Or just disagreeing without getting angry. Whatever it is, I'm Italian. Let's say somebody tells a joke that's, insensitive to Italians. I could say, that's offensive, or just let it go. Now, I tend to let it go. To me, if somebody's joking, I know that they don't really mean it. And I'm okay with that. But somebody else might not be. Somebody else might say, hey, that's horrible. I don't want you to say that ever again. And it might not even be their own ethnicity. It could be another ethnicity. Conflicting feelings. I want to stick up for myself or these other people versus when is it time to just disagree with it silently and don't feed into it. A lot of times that's what I find that I'm doing now when I have conflicting feelings and it's something that is an issue that means a lot to me and somebody's really the opposite. I just won't agree. I won't, but I won't disagree either. So if they say something like, yeah, don't you think this or that? I'm like, no, not really. And then just kind of leave it at that. Part of me wants to fight. Part of me gets angry. And part of me realizes maybe there's a time and a place. Maybe I could fight sometimes when it's absolutely necessary. And maybe there are other times where I could just not agree. I don't know if any of us have the answer 100% of the time. And I'm going to correct myself again, like I do every week. I do know that none of us have the answer 100% of the time. That there are going to be times where we don't know the answer. A friend of mine that I saw a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about, we have similar life situations. And I was telling him that I don't like the fact that sometimes I still once in a while will get angry and be nasty and I mean, not violent, but certainly, not nice. And he said, well, I do the same thing. He said, you're human. That's going to happen. That's it. He said, you try to do it as least as possible, but from time to time, you're going to stumble. And he told me something that I've been thinking about. He said, before you write an email or before you say anything or have a phone call, wait 3 days. 3 days. I mean, that's a lot. But see how you feel in 3 days. And if you feel the same way, then act on how you feel. If you don't feel the same way after 3 days, then you don't act on the way you felt originally. That's a good idea. I mean, now, could I pull that off every time? Probably not. I don't think so. I'll do the best I can. Conflicting feelings. Stand up for yourself. But at the same time, don't be aggressive, right? Part of you, when you stand up for yourself, you get angry and you want to be aggressive. And then the other part of you says, no, that's not going to accomplish anything. That's going to hurt. I think the hardest thing about conflicting feelings is rumination, where you just obsess over. I do it, and again, I'm not unique. I might do it more than most people, considering that I do have obsessive compulsive disorder. So my rumination is probably longer and more intense than most quote normal people. But we all ruminate. It's not uncommon that somebody says, I was looking at my ceiling at 3 o'clock in the morning, staring at the ceiling. Yeah, because that's when it's quiet and that's when your brain has time to process things that happen throughout the day and things that have upset you. And if you have conflicting feelings, you're going to have the judge and jury in your head, and you're going to have your trial. And you're going to listen to both sides. You're going to hear them, both sides. And you're not going to be sure what the answer is. Most of the time, it's not clear cut. That's part of trying to reconcile conflicting feelings. I think part of reconciling it is it's all right to have both. I can be angry and want to be forgiving at the same time. I can be sad over loss, but excited at the prospects of what's coming in the future. Those are all, both exist. Both are part of what my mental makeup. It's too difficult to fight those things. It's too difficult to say, well, this one's going to win out over the other one every time. I like I said, I think it's going to be from time to time, whether it's, one big one for me is guilt. Sometimes the guilt wins and I feel horrible about things that I've done and things that I've said and wish I could take them back. And then there are other times where the other thought comes into my head that I did the best with what I had at the time. I got to give myself grace that I'm human and I make mistakes and I screwed up. I said things I shouldn't have said, or I've done things that were hurtful and I should not have done them. And some days, like I said, the guilt wins, and some days the grace wins. I'll probably be that way until I die. Not going to change. I hope as I get better at this that I'll lean more towards the grace and less towards the beating myself up over things that I've done. Can't fix the past. You can only go forward and try to do the best you can as you go forward. but you'll vacillate. You'll go back and forth. Just like weather, as we're getting ready to wrap up the show. I mean, one thing that being in the Philadelphia area, we're on the rain snow line for a lot of winter storms. And it could be snowing really hard. Then a few minutes later, it could be raining, and then it could go back to snow, and then go back to rain, and go back to snow, and that's called vacillation. It's going back and forth. The rain snow line is snaking through, but it's not linear. It's just kind of snaking through and going in and out. That's kind of like this. Now, I actually thought about that the other day or yesterday, that I'm going back and forth. Sometimes I feel this way, and sometimes I feel that way. And it's just what it is at the moment. Well, I want to thank Kevin, and I want to thank, I don't know what the name is, but somebody from Europe was in. So thank you so much both for your comments. And I want to thank everybody who watched the show. You got to join us as much as you can on USA Global TV and radio. Just amazing programming from amazing people. You can subscribe, watch our YouTube channels. There's the Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck channel on YouTube, the USA Global TV and radio channel. So make sure that you know where we are on the dial and join us as much as you can. Here's my website. It's just for you, www.justforyoutc.com. And this is where my business is training people on computer programs, artificial intelligence, and also soft skills. So if you go to my website, or you can go to Justin at justforyoutc.com. Feel free to email me. These are all my workshops that I do for AI. So Word, Excel, PowerPoint, you name it. I do that training. All right. I want to thank everybody for your time this week. I will see you next Monday on USA Global TV and Radio.
What if many of the problems we associate with aging are not random? What if there are identifiable causes behind declining energy, chronic disease, and memory problems? We have been told that aging is simply something we must accept, that slowing down is normal, that growing older means growing weaker. But what if that's only part of the story? Why do some people remain active and engaged well into their later years? Why do others struggle with disease, fatigue, and declining health? What is happening beneath the surface? What processes drive aging? In Aging Sucks, researcher, educator, and author Red O'Loughlin explores what researchers have discovered about why we grow older. No medical degree required, no confusing jargon, just clear explanations of what researchers have discovered about the processes that influence aging. You cannot stop aging, but understanding its causes may help you make better decisions about your health, your future, and your quality of life. Because understanding comes before action. Action creates hope. Aging sucks. End the guesswork. There is hope.
Every great story begins with a vision. At USA Global TV and Radio for years, we've been providing world-class education, entertainment, inspiration, imagination, connections, and hope. Most people don't stay to watch the outro or the credits, but it's the people behind every success, behind every breakthrough, and behind every unforgettable story who matter. The TV show hosts, our guests, our sponsors, our publicists, our production team, our distribution team, our search engine optimization team, and so many more. You're the ones who make the difference. Every great story belongs to the people who bring it to life. Our future looks bright at USA Global TV and Radio, and that's because of you, our loyal fan base all around the world in more than 60 countries. Together, we're making a difference because you matter. USA Global TV and Radio, live streaming to over 60 countries. Voiceover, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Video production and direction, Paul Garcia. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV and Radio on YouTube.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/usaglobaltv. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.